Welcome everybody. This is the finals for the Weeblet Avenue LOL tournament. On the blue side we've got Team T1, and on the red side we have Team SKE. Team T1 is headed by their mid laner Fizz, aka Bayamaki, and we have Team SKE headed by their jungler Kane, aka Exokai. Let me just move some of these portraits around. We'll start talking about the teams. So we got on Team T1, we got Yasuo in the top lane, Diana in the jungle. Again, the Ezreal Leona pick picked for Team T1. If you saw the last game in the semifinals, you've seen that they've used this pick already, and it seemed to be working well. So it looks like they're just kind of repeating the formula. The Fizz also picked again, great assassin. Definitely a good pick for, taking care of the squishies that we see on Team SKE, or Team Sake. On the red side, we've got Slightly on the Jax in the top lane. Slightly is a last-minute substitution made by Team SKE. Hopefully he will continue being a guiding voice for his team members. Exokai on his classic pick of the Kane. Definitely a player who's played a lot of Kane in the jungle. You'll see here, can't comment on the jungle pathing and all that stuff because I don't really play jungle. I mostly play support. But you'll see him gank a lot, and that's his kind of style. We got Seraphine in the mid lane. Character that was originally made for the mid lane role, kind of swapped down to the support role, and now kind of balances in between the two. And again, for the bot lane, on Team SKE, we have Sivir, who just recently, as of today, got a major, I believe, buff or changes to her crit status and all that stuff. So now her E shield still blocks abilities, but instead of refunding mana, refunds health. And Dark Knight on his classic pick of the Sona. That player is really known for his Pyke, Xerath, and Sona characters. Okay, we got a possible gank coming in from Joe Grenda. Definitely major damage, half health down onto the Seraphine. Kane comes in to sweep. Looks like it's unsuccessful. Both junglers and the mid laners part ways. Very low health. An engage given onto the Sona. No dice. Okay, an exhaust given over to the Sivir. Wow, I'm just like blanking out right here. Yeah, there's a lot happening. So yeah, a sum used for erotic rice. So it looks like for Team SKE, that's a good trade. One summoner down for none on SKE. It looks like as both junglers are moving to their top side clearings, possibly something could happen in the top lane. Yeah, so it looks like Team SKE is going to be working on their scuttle. But looks like Seraphine could be trying to bait out the Fizz into getting a kill, but might end up dying with the two teammates nearby. Something that I want to know about the objective of every team right now is that Team SKE definitely wants to utilize their poking comp. So you got the Sivir with her boomerangs and her little spear spinny things. You got Sona with her power buffing abilities, speed in characters and also get them out of trouble. Okay, we got a gank coming in. All hopping onto the Sivir. Ignite going down onto the Sivir. Not enough damage. Looks like enough healing given by the exhaust and also the heal from Sivir in order to keep her alive a little more. Possible gank in from Fizz. Fizz definitely gets caught out here with the Kane. Kane kind of watching over the bot lane. unsuccessful gank by Team T1, as both teams try to part ways there, kind of reset and regroup. We got a little bit of a gold lead given it over to the Ezreal, and every other team seems to be doing about even. Seraphine a little more than the Fizz, but that's kind of expected with like a range to melee matchup. Okay, it looks like the Jax is going in for an aggressive trade. Looks like both teams are on opposite sides. A little bit sustained given by the Yasuo's natural lifesteal. Looks like he's trying to out-juke the Jax. A flash given over. Dove, another flash given by the Jax. And a stun comes in from his counter-strike. Boom! First blood given over to Team SKE. Not even the assist from Seraphine was needed. Looks like in a pure 1v1, the Jax can definitely take on the Yasuo. So it looks like in this case, the Yasuo definitely has to play a lot more defensively. Double root given over by Seraphine. Oh, trying to look for a pick on the Fizz, but unsuccessful with Fizz's pole vaulting. Well, looks like the Yasuo is not giving up with him fighting in the major wave. Is he able to find anything on this kill? Oh, it's gonna be a close one. Okay, and it's a kill succeeded and secured by the Yasuo. So the 1v1 is still up in the air. Maybe it's not as clear as we thought it was. Even with the little CS deficit, the Yasuo is still able to attack fast enough and sustain himself. At the moment, longer and faster than the Jax. Looks like Fizz is trying to look for something, but if we take a look at the vision by red side, it seems like they've already spotted him a little bit. So even though no pings are going down at the moment, oh, never mind, looks like they just spotted him. So even though there are no wards in the bush, they definitely saw him and they're making sure to stay back a little bit. As you can see right here, as the Leona is trying to posture off, I think that might be a little lack of communication here between the Fizz and also the bot lane. Definitely looks a little different than the previous game that I spectated. Got a fight coming in from the top laners and also a little scuffle from the blue side jungler and the red side mid laner. Oh, let me put on the objective timers. Okay, so vision isn't really being disputed at the moment for Dragon. It's Infernal Soul, just came up. Looks like everyone's just kind of farming around a little bit. The CS lead by the Ezreal is definitely starting to grow, almost 20 CS bigger than the Sivir. And again, if we saw in previous game, if Ezreal is allowed enough CS and enough of a lead, then he's definitely going to do a lot more damage, especially if it's an Infernal Soul like we saw. But Hook comes over, flash, and an E flash forward to secure a kill onto the Sona. I'm surprised how that kill was even given over to the Leona, but nonetheless, Ignite from Leona secures the kill onto the Sona. The assist from the... not from Diana. Oh, hold on. These numbers might be off. There we go. And it looks like with that kill on the Sona, bot lane has some prio. Mid lane is still being pushed in, but looks like the jungler on the blue side and the support are trying to sneak that dragon. They're coming up towards the mid lane, trying to see something on the Seraphine, but I guess they decide off of it because they know that Kayn is somewhere topside, and you can just easily abandon the Rift Herald and go help the mid lane. You can see right here, looks like red side is being a little cheeky here, trying to do a little invade. So they popped down a ward to secure any vision on the entrances, and it looks like they find somebody. Okay, the Diana gets spotted out, and it looks like 2 people against that Diana might be a little tricky for our Joe Grande here. Okay, so it looks like Joe Grena gets caught out by Exokai and the rest of the team of SKE. Looks like SKE is trying to secure themselves and salvage anything that they might find. And ult picks out the Seraphine, and the kill is given over to Team T1. Yasuo goes in for a little trade here and there, and secures a 2-for-1 trade over in favor of Team T1. So it looks like at this point, Ezreal is kind of self-sufficient enough to farm on his own. Probably because the player is mostly confident in his abilities. And also in the fact that, I mean, Sivir and Sona, you know, also poke dominant. Is just going to be pushing in most of the time. And so Ezreal, with his ability to Q spam, had a lot more control over the freezing ability of his wave. Oh, looks like we got something here. Looks like the blue side bot duo is trying to look for something cheesy going on here, but they don't spot the Kayn, and instead they spot the Sona. Looks like a bit of a hesitation there, given over a hesitation by the Leona. She was definitely looking for something on the Sona when she was clearing out vision in this area, but it looks like it was unsuccessful. Maybe during this game, there was a bit of nerves, you know? So the Leona wasn't playing as aggressively as she could have. Because, I mean, it's a Sona for Christ's sake, you know? Sona is a very squishy champ. Sivir is also a very squishy champ. And as soon as Leona hops on either of them, it's kind of game over for both of them. But redeeming ult by the Fizz, and the Ez tries to do some damage on the enemy team, unsuccessful as they run away with the Rift Herald securing first turret over to Team SKE. Oh, yeah, something in the bot side jungle. Looks like Dana's trying to fight back the invades. You know, you steal my buff, I'm gonna steal your blue buff this time. Looks like something's trying to go on here, a little battle for vision. Again, the hesitation from Leona definitely could have picked out the Sona, or at least anybody. I think definitely it was a game of nerves for this Leona player. It's weird because I'm talking to myself in the third person. But anyways, 1v1 scuffle again, with the Yasuo and the missed counter-strike stun from the Jax. And it looks like he's on the tail end of things. Looks like both top laners are fighting for each other 1v1. And it looks like the Yasuo is definitely winning this trade. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you see right here, that's definitely within engaging, you know, range. So unless MAYDAY Mr. J definitely tries to be a little more aggressive, you know, have that fuck it mentality, I think Team T1 is in a bit of a trouble, even though they are up in kills. Okay, a nice ult, clean tower dive over by the Yasuo, but he is caught out by the Seraphine ult and also the Kayn ult. So it's a 1-for-1 trade in the top lane. And with that, Fizz is definitely going to know the location of his lane opponent. He's going to start pushing towards a plate, trying to secure some gold for himself in the mid lane. Looks like Diana definitely wants to clear her bot side and then move on to Dragon. So Team T1's bot lane is going to shove this minion wave. That way they have more time and space in order to work with the vision control over the bot side river. A ping coming out from the Seraphine means that she definitely doesn't want to start the dragon fight until her ult is up, but it looks like that might be a little too late as we start seeing some players from T1 trying to see something here. An ult is caught by the Sivir, but as you can see, her shield prevents her from being knocked up. Okay, we see Leona definitely blocking the Jax. Flash given over and an ult by the Sona. Stuns to try to protect the ADC, and the Leona is given over as a punishment for T1's mislocation. Is that the word? I think that's the word. Anyways, we got a turret given over to the Yasuo in top lane in favor for T1. But with that, they trade off the Ocean Drake. So it's Cloud Soul. For the viewers out there that don't know Cloud Soul puts down little circles in the jungle area for movement speeds, and it also allows characters a movement speed buff. I believe it also has something to do with ultimate cooldowns, but that might have been before or after changes. Anyways, with the Yasuo spotted in the top lane, he retreats, and most of the team on SKE tries to go up topside to secure this Rift Herald. Looks like the Jax is kind of lagging in behind, looking for a flank on the Yasuo, possibly? Yeah, Team T1 is starting to move towards clearing vision. They successfully push off Team SKE, but they back off for a little bit, trying to stall some time, it looks like, as the Fizz, again, in a sort of 1-4 split, secures the bot side turret. But with not enough members on Team T1 to fight off this Herald, looks like they're just going to give it and try and take down the turret. Okay. The Leona is definitely playing a little more defensive, trying to peel for carries. Gets a big chunk out of her health bar though. Looks like Team SKE is trying to pincer attack. Okay, so we got a kill given over to Erotic Rice. Bot lane turret gets secured by the Fizz. And again, the T1 team comp is definitely looking to make picks, but the same can also be said for SKE as well. They're a lot more team fight oriented with the big Seraphine ult, especially if they try to fight in narrow alleyways like in the jungle. And we also have major stuns by Jax and also Dark Knight's Sona. So while T1 definitely looking for a lot more wombo combo and kind of protect the carries kind of playstyle, Team SKE, all they need to do is just press one button and boom, that's it, game over. In terms of kills, things are pretty even, with a slight gold advantage for Team T1. Again, that's a little reflected in the CS differences between the jungle and also the AD carries. Doesn't seem like Fizz could do anything about this Jax because, I mean, he's an assassin, that's a bruiser. 2 ults given over to stop the Sona, but a flash dodges the major stun. Trying to clear out some more vision, and establish more vision is the goal for this Leona. More vision, more protection, more warning for the Ezreal, and if he has that warning, he's able to protect himself from assassination attempts by the Kayn. Because again, Kayn can be played as a bruiser type or as an assassin kind of style. In this game, it looks like red Kayn, and I believe that's the bruiser style, whereas blue Kayn is the more assassin oriented. For those of you who don't know, Kayn can be played either of those two play styles, and depending on the characters that he fights, he leans towards that. Okay, an engage from SKE. Sorry, an engage from the Diana, but it gets completely countered by the Jax and also the counter attack. Kayn follows up for a kill on the Diana, and the Yasuo tries to see if he can pick something off, but it doesn't look like this is good for Team SK. Sorry, for Team T1. My gosh, they're all the same. T1's getting definitely pushed down in the mid lane. Oh. Yeah, this is not looking good for Team T1. Rift Herald almost decimates the inhibitor turret. It looks like Team SKE is looking to secure more vision around the third dragon, bringing them one step closer to the Cloud Soul. Like I mentioned before, the Cloud Soul is the dragon that gives them movement speed and also ultimate cooldown reduction. Looks like Team T1 is trying to look for a possible steal or a possible pick around the dragon. They're looking to fight. It doesn't look like they're trying to back down even though they lost that team fight. The Dana is still a little behind, so they might be a little risky gamble going up here. But it doesn't look like Team SKE wants to do anything about that. Their whole philosophy is play it safe, you know. We're starting to catch up in leads. Like I mentioned previously before, some of these players have known each other for a really long time, and some of these players are playing for the first time with other teammates. On Team SKE, Slightly is their substitute, like I mentioned before, and he's their newcomer. While Exokai, Savage Beast, Pikachu, Dark Knight 555, they've either been friends since, you know, the high school days, or they've just played a lot of games together since the tournament started. On Team T1 on the left-hand side, a lot of these players have played a couple of games together, at least. Take it back, they played a lot of games together. So, you know, team chemistry, kind of using psychological neural links is something that you know, they've done a whole lot. They've practiced. It's kind of written in their, you know, bloodstreams. So this game is definitely not just about team chemistry, but also like the bigger scale. And for our newcomers here, that terminology we like to call the macro play. So there's the micro play where you control your character and the skills and dodges and all that stuff, but there's the macro play. So thinking about the big picture, you know, where do you want your characters to be at certain times, and where do you not want them to be? And by perfecting that, doesn't matter how good of a micro you have or good mechanics you have, just by pure positioning and also timing on things can help you win the game. I'm definitely sensing like a macro shift here. I know Slightly is their highest ranking player on their team, so it might be that he's starting to take over the comms a bit. Looks like things are definitely centered around him splitting and kind of catching off the T1 splitters, right? So we got a push coming in from the Yasuo, but it gets counteracted by the Jax. So while it's a 1-3-1 split with the Seraphine and the Jax in the top and bot lane, everyone else in the mid lane, it looks like the Jax, I'm starting to feel like the Jax wants to play a more like split oriented game. So that way when it comes down to important, you know, objective timers, the team is ready to, you know, push any single lane if they win. And again, looks like T1 is trying to mimic that 1-3-1 with the bot lane duo and jungler who just recalled in the mid lane. Looks like the Leona is starting to rotate over, possibly looking for a pick on the Jax, but maybe just out of intuition, kind of waits it out, sees any possible, you know, movements detected over, any unusual movements by the Yasuo. This is definitely a mental game at this point. Like I mentioned before, the Leona not being aggressive enough in the early game is starting to bite them in the back right now. Okay, so it looks like the entirety of Team SKE is looking for a pick on the Fizz in the top lane, but they're unsuccessful. So with possible guess by T1 with most of their members top lane, okay, gets definitely spotted out. The entire team now is known to be topside. So looks like the Leona is gonna start establishing some more vision. The rest of the team of T1 are looking to see if they can pick off the Jax. Yasuo stalling a little bit with the tornado, clearing up some minions there. The wards come down from Leona. A stun. A whole combo goes down. The ult barely misses. A flash by the Fizz and the Jax to evade, and stopwatch perfectly timed for the counter strike stun. Looks like Team T1 is starting to push bot lane, possibly thinking about stopping the Baron. They can do it fast enough, and for sure they could, but it looks like they decide against it, as they want to establish a soul point on their team. Definitely had enough time to rotate the entire team over and threaten that, but it looks like they wanted to play it safe and thought that the Baron would go down a lot faster. So we got bot lane pushing into the tier 2 turret. We got 3 turrets given over to Team T1, and got 2 turrets on the side of Team SKE. So even though there might be a dragon difference here, looks like everything else is about the same. Just a slight 100. Oh, I mean, that gold gap is starting to close now. Before we saw it was almost 2k gold. Now it's like what, 300 gold? Yeah. So Team SKE is starting to fight back, and they're starting to get more of that late game power. Team T1, they're starting. Okay, we have a wombo combo from the Diana ult and the Yasuo. Double Sona Seraphine ult to stop the backlines from doing any more damage, and Team SKE starts attacking the carries, the backline. Looks like T1 was split up between going for the squishies and also defending the carries, and it looks like that's GG for Team T1. And with that, Team SKE wins the finals as they clear up the inhibitor turret and the inhib. Yeah, we can start seeing some GGs coming out from Team T1. Very clean execution by the Jax in the top lane. And Team SKE as they recover from that little deficit that they had in the early and mid game. And with that, we have our winners for the Weeblet LOL tournament. Team SKE, headed by Exokai.